Hey, it's Thomas, and I want to go over how to do high intensity interval cardio training because it's one of the best ways to lose body fat when you're doing any form of cardio exercise. And I'm talking about running, the elliptical bike, spin bike, rowing, all those forms of cardio. When you do them in a way where you're alternating between going really hard and then back to kind of a normal pace and then back to hard again and then back to a normal pace, that has shown through research, it's been shown to burn 3 to 9 times more body fat than if you were to go at the same intensity or the same speed the entire time. So one of my favorite ways, because it's one of the safest ways to do it, is with just straight up running. So the way you do high intensity interval training is that you go at a normal pace. You start up, you warm yourself up to what a normal pace for you, if you were to go like on a 20 to 30-minute run, what would that look like for you? And it doesn't matter if you're a fast runner or if you're just getting started, and for you maybe it's a fast walk. It doesn't matter. If you were to spend 30 minutes exercising by a form of moving your body forward, what would it look like? It could be walking, jogging, or running. Go at that pace for about 45 seconds. Then what you're going to do is you're going to launch into a full, all-out, just completely intense sprint. And so if you're in really good shape, that's going to be like you're trying to set a world record in like the 50-yard dash, and you're going to go as hard as you possibly can. And if you're just kind of getting started or you're just getting off the couch for the first time, that might mean that you're just hustling as fast as you can. Like suddenly somebody announced there's a 95% off sale at Nordstrom right now, and you got to get there. The idea is you're going as fast as you're capable of going. So the speed doesn't matter. What matters is that you're putting your full maximum intensity and intention into it. And you're going to do that for about 15 seconds, and then you bring it back down to that original speed or that original intensity before, and you do that for 45 seconds, and then you go back to a full all-out sprint for 15 seconds, and then back and forth and back and forth. And then do that for a whole half hour. And what that's going to do is you're going to notice that it's just going to completely exhaust you way more than a regular 30-minute run or any cardio session would normally do. You could do this with other types of cardio equipment. You could do this with rowing. You could do this with the elliptical machine. You could do this with a stationary bike, or you could do this with an indoor cycling bike. What matters is that you're alternating between incredibly hard intensity and then a regular intensity that you would normally set out to do if you were to work out for 30 minutes. And I want you to do that. It's kind of the heart of a system that I created many years ago. I've been using interval cardio training with my clients for over 15 years. I've used it for myself just about every single time that I've wanted to get as ripped as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time, because it just straight up works. I use that in addition to weight training and resistance training, so that way I can use the resistance training to really build up my muscle, and then I use the interval cardio training to just shed the fat off of me, because it works so fast. It's just remarkable when you see the transformations that can happen in people when they utilize it the right way. Now, where it gets interesting is a long time ago, I found that there's just a series of combinations of what we call the recovery. So when you're going on the slower side, that I like to call that the recovery phase. And then the high intensity part of it, that I call the sprint. And I found that there seems to be a sweet spot of how much time you should spend on the recovery interval versus the sprint interval, and how that will affect your fat loss. And I found that most people are able to get just incredible results doing the 45-15. You're gonna need some form of watch. The ability to look at the seconds on a watch so you can time yourself. And if you have a watch with a second hand, that's great, because you just basically wait. You go at a regular speed until that second hand goes to the 45-second mark, and then you just book as hard as you possibly can. And then when that second hand gets up to the 60-second or 0-second mark, then you bring it back down to a regular pace, and you just wait until it hits the 45-second mark again, and then you just repeat that for the duration of the workout. And that could be 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 60 minutes. Just depends on how long you would normally work out for when you're doing that form of cardio. Just try to spend the same amount of time, but do it this way, and you're going to notice a dramatic difference in your results, and also, of course, the energy expenditure. I mean, you will probably be sweating bullets, and you'll be just completely exhausted. My goodness, it works so well. When you start getting good at that, I notice the better shape you're in, the less effective that is. So that tends to help people lose fat for some time. I remember a long time ago, I wrote the weight loss programs for one of the fitness equipment companies behind the show, The Biggest Loser. Yeah, the big hit TV show, The Biggest Loser. And I wrote the fat loss program for one of their most successful and most advanced equipment lines, and I got to run a lot of like hundreds of people through the program to test it to see if it would make sure. Now, part of the program consisted of interval cardio training, and I've always wondered what would be how would people's bodies change if I kind of changed the interval times, like if I kind of modified the rest and the recovery, would it make much of a difference? So what I did is I used my computer science background, because a long time ago I used to be a software programmer. Yep, I got a degree from Carnegie Mellon with a degree in computer science and mathematics. I did all that before I went off back to school and got my master's degree in exercise science and health promotion, and I got about 10 other national fitness certifications, so I could learn everything I possibly could learn about fitness and become an expert in transforming people's lives. And so what I did was I used my programming abilities to create an interval cardio voice coach. And what it did was I'd have my students come in and they would start by doing interval cardio on indoor cycling bikes. And I had a little program that I set up a computer, hooked to loudspeakers, and what it would do is it would tell you when to go fast and then when to go down to a recovery pace. And then it would go, and then when the time was up, it would go, it'd say, let's go into a sprint in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go as fast as you possibly can. And it would do that for you. So I didn't have to be there with a stopwatch timing my students, and my students didn't have to either. And I found there was a set of 12 different combinations that seemed to get the best results. And not only that, there was like a progression to it. So it was so fascinating that as you started to lose the speed or the rate of results in one interval, as soon as you upgraded or progressed to the next interval, that it would all of a sudden just create all these results again. And I got all the way up to 12 because I was testing each of these on like a monthly basis, and it was incredible. So that's how I created this thing called the Turbo Shred Fat Killer Interval Cardio Training System. And all it's just my voice with some music in the background that basically has those intervals all set up, and it tells you when to go fast and when to bring it back down. So that way you don't have to. I made it because it was kind of getting inconvenient for me and my clients to keep looking at the watch, especially when you're trying to go all out, and then you got to break your focus for a second and say, wait, is the time up yet? Oh, let me keep going. And that just started to become a complete pain in the butt. So I thought, why don't I just record those intervals of me telling my clients like I used to, because I used to train them. I used to say, okay, now go. And then I'd say, okay, now slow it down. And then now go again. And I just recorded my voice over and put a musical soundtrack behind it, and then added a warm up and a cool down with some really inspirational, just really great visualization exercises and imagery that you do in your head. And all that it requires is that you just load that track. I recorded it onto an MP3, and you just load the track onto your music player and just put your earphones in, and that's it. And then that completely eliminates the need for using the stopwatch. So you can do this either way. So you can what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you've never done this before, or if you've never been able to get really great results doing high intensity interval cardio training, try this out with the 15 and 45 seconds. And if you're interested and you want to purchase at least just the first volume of the Fat Killer program, you can just go to fatkillercardio.com and you can buy it there. You can buy just one volume, which is the first volume, or you can buy the entire thing. I have all 12. It's the same ones that all of my students have used at my boot camps and all of my group and personal training programs I've ever done. I've used the same program for over 15 years, and I haven't changed it just simply because it just works. It works remarkably. But again, if not, get yourself a stopwatch and use those intervals and give that a shot for a couple weeks and measure your results. Measure your inches, measure your body weight, and you can do that on top of any other regular training that you do, okay? Well, I hope you got the idea and I hope you try it out. Please feel free to give me comments, and if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to me. Love you all. Mwah! Again, this is Thomas Tadlock, and I'll catch you on the next video.